I'm Campson Untamed Oracle, and today I'm talking about the bodily cost of unsafe relationships. What happens when tension lives in the house, but solutions are not on the tongue and being communicated? Here's a somatic truth that I very rarely hear. When a relationship holds unspoken tension, whether it's the argument you're not having or the truth that you're not speaking, the pattern that you're both pretending isn't destroying you, it's not being ignored. Your body is going to record it and hold the score of that. Metaphorically and physiologically, your body cannot distinguish between a saber-toothed tiger and your partner's silent treatment. The same stress cascade floods your system as if you were actually running from a tiger. The cortisol, the adrenaline, the inflammatory cytokines build up day after day, month after month, year after year. Now, for a woman, her body takes longer to process these certain types of stress hormones. And science is now proving what we've known for a long time. But on a hormonal level, this is devastating because when a woman lives in a state of chronic relational unsafety, whether she admits it to herself or not, her body makes a logical calculation of what's happening. And her body says, this environment is not safe for creating life. So her hypothalamus reads the ambient stress in the field. Her pituitary stops signaling to her ovaries, and her progesterone will drop. Her cortisol will increase, and her thyroid hormones will slow down. This can lead to irregular or painful cycles. This can lead to PCOS, unexplained infertility issues, fibroids, and then you have perimenopausal symptoms that arrive early, like estrogen dominance, weight that is hard to reduce no matter what you do. Now, the medical system calls it a hormonal imbalance when this happens, but the body is actually saying, I don't feel safe because I'm living in a war zone. So, the reproductive system, the womb, it holds information. It's an archive. It's not just an organ, it's an emotional archive, and it holds every single no that was never spoken, every boundary that was swallowed. And every time a woman stays in her body, even though it's screaming for her to leave, that leaves an impact on the body. And so the tension lodges itself into the pelvic bowl. So this is where fibroids, which is crystallized rage, or endometriosis, which is like inflammation from unmet needs, chronic pelvic pain, and this leads to you, it even hurts to be touched. And intercourse, sexual intercourse, definitely gets difficult. And it's something that a lot of women are dealing with, and you could be ashamed of it. And for a lot of women, we learn to fawn our way out of these issues. So when you can't fight, when you can't flee, you fawn. And so she manages, she soothes, she becomes responsible for other people's emotional state. This keeps her nervous system chronically activated. So her body is probably seeming calm on the surface, but underneath it's not. And the long term effect of this, it is very expensive. Autoimmune disease, the body starts to attack itself because it cannot attack the source of the threat, because it may be somebody that you live with or work with. And so you move into a survival state. Fibromyalgia is another thing that shows up. The body is screaming the things that the voice can't speak. Adrenaline exhaustion. This is, I can't handle this anymore, and your very cells start to misfire. Stress is an immunosuppressive issue from chronic relational tension. And so what happens is the body just starts to hold it all, and you get sick, and the longer you stay in this, the sicker you become. And the body literally is so busy trying to survive these relationship dynamics that the immune system can no longer fight the pathogens, and it starts to attack itself. Now, the architecture of suppression, So for a lot of men, they were never taught to feel. They were taught to perform, to be invulnerable, to be resilient, to be strong. But the unspoken truth is that their body also becomes an archive of the things that they cannot express. And for men, what I have noticed is issues with the cardiovascular system. So unprocessed emotion, especially rage and grief, it doesn't just disappear, it moves into the blood vessels. So men who exist in high conflict or silently tense relationship show signs of elevated blood pressure. This is from the pressure of unspoken truths, increased cardiac events. The heart literally starts to break down from the pain that it's carrying. Chronic inflammation in the body, because you're in a low grade invisible war. The digestive system, the gut is the second brain. So when the first brain can't process relational stress, the second brain takes the hit. This can show up as IBS, acid reflux, leaky gut, and inability to absorb nutrients. He can eat dinner at the same table, but his body may not be actually digesting the food because his nervous system is still in an argument that happened hours ago. And this is not just for men, this is for women too. Now, on a reproductive level for men, testosterone drops in men experiencing chronic stress. And if you are a melanated man, you can multiply this because they have to exist in chronic stress. This can impact low libido, lead to your libido being lower, not feeling connection. This can lead to erectile dysfunction, which is the body saying, I don't feel safe enough to be able to create life. A low sperm count is also a reflection of not feeling like you're in a safe environment to bring forth offspring. So the nervous system can actually go into a shutdown response. So sometimes men may go into a freeze state. This can look like emotional numbness, an inability to access empathy and conflict, just going blank in important conversations, not knowing what to say, being afraid of saying the wrong thing. And this can lead to hours, days, months, years of existing in this energy. And it's not really man being cold, but his nervous system is disassociating from the pain that it was never taught to process. But if you are a woman on the other side of this signals to the body that you are not safe because the man, the protector, is frozen. So this tiger is probably going to get you. So this tension, it starts to live in the body, and again, over time, it leads to illness. Now, the energetic field of this, so couples who have a difficult time speaking truth to one another for whatever reason, whether I've named it already or not, what happens is things that are small, they feel bigger. Resentment begins to build, and there's a static energetically between the couple. And so many times women are literally wearing a mask with a smile, but they feel like they're dying on the inside. And there are things that they don't feel like they can say. And if the man has been dealing with chronic stress for a long time, he may, be silent or find himself being irritable. Men do get more irritable as they get older, usually between 40 and 50. Testosterone drops. And so men can become more easily frustrated and more irritable. This is why it's important to go to the doctor and get your checkups and find out what your levels are. But this tension, it leads to disconnection, aversion. And so what happens is we start performing, but not really being present. And so the most honest place should be our home, our house, and our bedrooms. But for a lot of people, as we're going through this awakening where the veil is being pulled down, we're noticing these patterns. So let me tell you some astrological points that I found that are important. Pluto in the seventh house can transform relationships, right? It's all about transformation. Pluto will do it for you through some type of illness, crises, or collapse. If Chiron is in the fifth house or the seventh house for someone in a couple, those wounds are usually around pleasure and partnership. And so there are just things that you won't be able to process until you heal that wound. If Saturn squares Venus, right, this creates love that feels like work. And if they don't consciously choose to be safe with each other, the body will eventually refuse to perform physical intimacy. If lunar nodes are opposed to each other across the charts, these souls are like coming together with the purpose of healing, but they have a lot of damage through their lineage. And that damage shows up in the body as well. And so I am not an astrologer, but I've been studying astrology for the purpose of alchemy and healing. And so there are plenty of astrologers out there. I love a lot of them. But I sometimes want to get right to the root of things and want to know, like, what's the connection with this and the way that I build relationships? Why am I having pelvic pain? Is this connected to a wound based on where Venus is positioned? And I have difficulty receiving pleasure. And a lot of us don't feel safe enough to receive pleasure. Or if my partner Mars is in a particular place, so he's more prone to cardiovascular stress. Depending on where Virgo is, that could be digestive issues, right? So a Chiron wound can show up as a nervous system shutdown. And so when you learn the language of the body and the things that maybe you cannot say or have not said or said in ways that were not healthy, you are more able to get in tune with your I divine higher self. And so what happens is you can change dynamics not by changing someone else, but by using your symptoms and your astrology to create a map and a GPS system for who you are. And you cannot heal a relationship by ignoring the things that your body is communicating to you. And you cannot heal a body by pretending that the relationship is fine. So the unspoken tension, this is nonverbal communication. It doesn't protect anybody. It destroys both people in a relationship from the inside out. And it also has a detrimental impact on our children. And so for a lot of us, we probably experience our parents having relationship issues. And it's one of the reasons that we may have insecure love attachment styles. And I find disorganized attachment in a quiet way shows up for me more than anything. So when I started doing this deep dives and I realized that I'm not one or the other, I'm not anxiously attached all the time, I'm not always avoiding. I kind of move between the two. But I wanted to know, is there a connection between my love attachment and my astrology? And how does it show up in my body? And so for many years, couples would just notice things change, notice that it's more difficult to get along, like really get along. Notice it's difficult to be vulnerable with each other. Notice that intimacy feels like work, that walking on eggshells feels like it's the only way to be safe, to not say things so we don't upset one another. That's being responsible for each other's emotional temperament, which is codependency, which is what I call ending energetic fuckery, because that's the goal if you want to end codependency. And energetically, it scrambles you. And just think about you as a child, what it felt like when you would see disagreements between your caregivers, parents, whatever, guardians, and look at now how the things that you experience, whether you're saying it or not, everything in this world is frequency, energy, and vibration. So whether your children are still living with you in small, grown and gone, or grown and back home, no matter what it is, you can't outrun your subconscious programming. And for many years when I was religious, I thought astrology was evil. And I realized that those who want to stay in a position of superiority and dominate the collective, they need us to not know ourselves. Astrology is a map for the energy in your body, and it's connected to particular organs. And so learning synastry, which is studying the natal charts of both people in a relationship, it took me years to just get the basics of it, but I still wasn't able to really transform the way that I show up in life and what was happening in my dynamics, because logically I would understand something, but I didn't know how it translated into real life and day to day. Neither did I know that it was connected to some of the things that I was experiencing in my body. So here recently, I have noticed a lot of nurses talking about men in their 40s and 50s being in nursing homes after they've had a heart attack or stroke. They don't have anybody to help take care of them. This is a really common thing. We're going to continue to see this. Again, I talked about the cardiovascular system is so important. Colon cancer is one of the top 5 ways that a lot of men are losing their lives right now. Autoimmune disease in the in the feminine um, populations is so high. It is scary, and I wanted to know, how do these things connect, and can these things actually help us to get to the root of something that maybe previous generations didn't have access to the information knowledge to do so. So what I did was I practiced this, used it for years, used it with clients in my readings, my one-on-ones, in the coven group sessions, took all of the feedback, all of the comments on the thousands of videos that I've created over all of these years, and I took it and I made it into a PDF that you can download that's going to give you the step by step, and it's just a little bit at a time, because trust me, I know nobody really wants to spend money on something that you're not going to actually use. So the way that it was given to me as I was pulling this information from the Akashic record was, if you simplify this, if you create this in a way where people can spend about 10 to 15 minutes a day working through information that's not stuff that you don't need, it's the essential pieces that make up the part of you that you have not been able to explore. That's the shadow part of you. That's the unconscious part of you. You don't know who you really are. Most of us don't know, because we grew up in a world that told us who we were supposed to be and handed us an identity, indoctrination, and inherited beliefs. And so to survive, we became who we needed to be for the purpose of survival. But now that our bodies are breaking down from many generations of this, we can't continue to move that way and depend on coping mechanisms that we created as children in adulthood. So I put all that information in these ebooks, and I made one for women and one for men. You could get one for just yourself, or you could get them as a bundle. There's a discount if you buy both of them. I'm going to put the links in the description. But let me know, did I say something that resonated with you? Did you learn something new? I would really like to hear from you. We can't ignore the chronic illness, chronic fatigue, burnout epidemic that's happening. A lot of people aren't able to work as much as they used to. There's so many things happening. A lot of people on an economic level, a lot of people can't afford divorce right now. Divorce is expensive. Like, let's keep it real. It's expensive. The economy is shifting. And I wanted to know if there was a way, as an oracle that was put here in this time, that I could help people to create peace without having to put themselves in a position to lead to all types of illnesses, right? And even possibly early death, right? And so that was to go deeper than saying that men are incapable of love, and women overgive, or women are just messed up and gold diggers. Like, it's a lot of information out there that's really not helpful to us, because the goal is to become a better version of you, so that you aren't sustaining the trauma in your lineage, but you become the one who breaks the cycles. And yes, a lot of us probably have already went through divorces, especially if you're part of Gen X or older. And it might be something you just don't want to do again right now. And unfortunately, if you do not learn yourself, because to know God is to know thyself. If you don't get to know yourself, whether you're in a relationship, on your way out, on your way in another one, or happily single, if you don't know these things about yourself, your wounds from your childhood, your nervous system will attract the next relationship, and it will have very similar patterns. And it takes usually about 5 years before the unconscious self starts to show up in relationships, that's a long time to be getting to know somebody and maybe for their relationship to not make it. And this is why a lot of people do not make it past 5 years. And those that do, who do come from lineages where they are called to be the generational curse breakers, the purpose in this stuff showing up is not to break us. It's not to put us in positions where we're hurting each other and hurting our children because we don't know how to manage our own emotions. We're in this position so that we could be catalysts for change. And once we learn how to change what's happening inside of us, then we can create a whole new world where the paradigm shifts. We're actually able to be loving, be compassionate, be patient without it being fake, without it being performative, without it being hollow, right? And so the holographic simulated reality theory of us all creating this reality, honestly, we do. That can be overwhelming when you first enter in this awareness if you do not have the tools. I didn't have them. My partner didn't have them. We learned these things through trial and error, and we're still learning. And I'm going to continue to share as we go, as we grow. So I hope that this reached you. Whoever found this, like this is a divine moment. You find this when you were ready for it. And so that download will be made available to you as soon as you head to the website, drop it in the cart and grab it. These prices will not be around forever, but if we don't learn how to love ourselves, if we don't learn how to sit with the discomfort of the patterns that show up because of the wounds that we have not been able to fully address, because we really don't know the unconscious self well enough to truly transform. We're just chasing our tails and we're constantly trying to fix the aesthetic and we're changing what's on the surface. It's hollow. It doesn't go deep enough to actually shift anything. And I'm going to keep it real with you. When you don't learn these lessons, not only will they show up in other places in your life, like your health, your finances, future businesses, entrepreneurship, career, relationship, it will start to just spread and touch everything in your reality. And if you leave this planet before you learn these things, your soul will come back so that you can learn these things. My goal is to not come back to this planet to learn the lessons that I can be learning now. I definitely do not want to come back at the same shitty level that was so hard, so painful. And there were many times that I didn't know if I wanted to exist in this world anymore. It was so hard. And I'm going to be really honest with you because this is what I've been practicing, which is radical honesty. And let's be real. You probably don't feel like people in your life could handle your radical honesty, no matter how calmly you communicate it. Why is that? Why do we feel that way? Why do we feel like we have to wear a mask, be performative, be nice all the time, and we can't speak our truth? Is it because we don't know how to do it in a healthy way? Is it because of the past? It led to some type of punishment? You know, are we stuck in survival mode so much that truth can't be a part of our life? Because if that's the case, healing cannot happen where truth is not allowed to be present. So I'm going to put all the links in the description. I'd love to hear from you. Did I say anything and it stuck with you? Be sure to share this with someone else too. Don't keep this for yourself. Like, clearly we can look at the world and tell that a lot of people probably would benefit from this information. And if you want to join the coven, that link will be in the description as well. All right, y'all. Peace, 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 peace. See you in the next video. I got plenty on. Just keep watching videos. Take some notes if you don't even get the book. That's okay too. But when it's time, you're going to know when it's time. And I trust that you will do what your soul is leading you to do. You got this. You ain't came this far for nothing. All right, y'all.